Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome dear viewers joining us on our live program Here and There. I'd like to begin the program by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us all together and giving us this golden opportunity to speak about His deen. Furthermore, I'd also like to make mention of the blessed name of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now dear viewers, Here and There is a unique program. We're bringing to you a unique discussion every single day up until the end of Ramadan. And in today's discussion, we're going to be talking about striving and struggling for the sake of Allah in this blessed month. Now, we all have our weaknesses, we all have our strengths, but these weaknesses we need to struggle against. We need to try to improve ourselves, so much so that we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so much so that we attain these goals of Ramadan, that Allah selects us and removes us from the punishment of the fire for those that Allah has selected. So dear viewers, we need to look in the mirror, we need to assess ourselves, we need to look at our weaknesses, and then we need to rectify these weaknesses. Now, we need to look at our heart. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? He told us that a person who has a good, sound, clean heart, then the rest of his body will follow through and will also be good and clean. And the opposite, if a person has a corrupt heart, then at the same time he will also have a body, a mind that is also corrupted. Dear brothers and sisters, struggling is fundamental and is part of our deen. We recite Fatiha over 17 times in the day, and inside of that Fatiha, what do we say? We say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. We ask Allah to guide us on the straight path. But we're on the path, so why do we say that? Why? So that Allah keeps us on that path. We struggle and we strive and we maintain ourselves to be on that correct path. So dear viewers, the phone lines are open. Our Skype account is also open, Huda_TV. So please do join us. Give us your thoughts, give us your comments. How are you struggling in this month? Not just that, but we put a question out for you also on our Facebook account. And we put the question, what is the hardest thing that you are struggling with in this month? So do answer that as well over the phone. Our lines are open, our Skype account is open. So let's get interactive, inshallah. Let's go around the table and get an introduction from all of our guests and our speakers, and then we can get into our discussion. Turning over to the right, we have with us our presenter, Brother Omar. Would you like to say salam to our viewers and give them a little introduction as well?
Of course, assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. And before this, I would like to thank you, Brother Junaid, as always, for this warm introduction about self-control and struggling against the self. And I would like to say to my viewers that self-control is the thing that differentiates us, between us and between the other creatures like animals and so on. So if somebody succeeds to control himself more and more, he's going to reach to the level of the angels, and even more than this if he struggles and he purifies himself or herself, because the angels, they are not asked by God, to do this by choice, as we all know. So because we have a choice to do the opposite, that's why we call it a struggle. That's why there is actually a meaning of willpower. So this is what I want to stress on. And also the opposite, that if a human being doesn't control himself and he leaves himself to his desires, his whims, and so on and so forth, he's going to get lower than animals because he has the intellect. So we have the intellect and also we have the desires. We are in the middle between the angels and the animals. So that's what I want to emphasize to
all right, thank you very much. And with us we have Ali Coleman, our presenter and working here on Huda tonight. I'd like to welcome you, brother, and say assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam. And thank you for continuing to be with us. Brother Omar, I want you to continue. I was really enjoying it and you were inspiring me, enlightening me with your perspective on this subject. But I think that you're very right about this, that it's a very serious matter for us to live life the way that our Creator has intended for us to. And the way that He's designed us and intended for us to live life is outlined in Islam. And so I really like what you said also, Junaid, that the reason that we recite in our prayers, our target is to stay on the path. There are lots of things, distractions, that could potentially pull us off of the straight path. And so, inshallah, the goal, the target, the thing that we will all achieve individually and collectively is living life the way Allah designed and wants us to. And if we do that, there are many things that will be at least reduced, if not entirely eradicated. Things that are impacting negatively human beings, entire groups of human beings, the environment, the natural world, the economy, the way things are going right now and all of the ills and diseases that we see doesn't have to be there. It's a result of our mistakes. And so it's very important for us, for the sake of the world that we live in, the environment, the communities that we live in, and the quality of life that each of us individually enjoys, to stay on the straight path.
Very nice. I like the way you broaden out the discussion. The struggle is not just with our own selves, but the struggle is with the wider community as well, with all the things you mentioned. So very nice. If I can introduce our guest for the evening, we have with us Brother Kareem. Brother, I'd like to begin by saying Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's always a pleasure to be here. I really don't have much to say after the introduction. It was wonderful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, and I think it summarized everything that we're going to be talking about. I think to put this a bit more into Ramadan perspective, I think one of the things that is beautiful about Ramadan is that when we're talking about mujahadat al-nafs, is that it really makes it really bare, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he talks about how the shayateen, maradat shayateen, are locked up. So in this month, it really is a one-on-one. There's no one to blame except yourself, really.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the problems that we're facing, usually whenever something happens, we dismiss it, or we bat it out. We say, "Oh, this is a shaitan. He whispered me, and I didn't know what to do, and Allah cursed the shaitan," and all of this stuff. But now it's really you and yourself.
Okay.
There's no gloves on now. You see,
Brother, to pick up on that point, so we're told that in this month the devils are chained, they're locked. But why am I still struggling then? Why am I still striving? Where are these weaknesses or these temptations coming from?
I think the thing is that our main enemy, or our main opponent in our path, is not the shaitan. There is this misconception that is the shaitan. The shaitan is the weakest challenge on our path.
Okay.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna kayda shaytani kana da'if." The plans of and the ways of the shaitan are very weak. The shaitan is not our main opponent. He's one of the opponents. He's a consistent opponent, and he's got lots of tricks, and he's got lots of weapons that he uses against us. But we've got several opponents on our path. We've got our nafs, which is the primary and main opponent, which is consistent with us from the day we're born. It's with us all the way. And we've got people. And we've got shaitan. Shaitan is the third and the weakest one. A'udhu billahi minash shaitan ar-rajim, and you're out.
Okay.
This shaitan disappears. In Ramadan is not there. If you do dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the shaitan disappears. Lots of things which keep the shaitan away. But the people around you, who you surround yourself with, they're with you, and you make that choice whether to keep them or to move them away. And your nafs is with you no matter what you do. When you're on doing good, the nafs is with you. When you're doing bad, the nafs is with you. When you're asleep, it's with you. Every single situation. And the challenge is that we try and make our nafs a supporter of good. We kind of, the scholars, when they talk about nafs, they talk about it as if it's a baby. They say that depending on how you bring up that baby, it will bring up to whether it's a good pious nafs or a nafs. And we talk about three types of nafs. It's either a nafs lawama, or a nafs amara bisu, or a nafs mutma'inna.
Okay.
Nafs amara bisu, one that keeps on calling you to sin, or a nafs lawama, one which keeps on going back and forth, and a nafs mutma'inna, which is a pious, which is similar to humans in general. There's people who've gone astray, people who are on and off, and then there's people who are on steady path. And this is one of the things that we need to, this is why we're going to work together, inshallah. We'll talk about certain tips and tricks on how to...
I just wanted to say a point about the shaitan or the Satan. I think when Brother Junaid, he asked about why are we struggling, I think because Satan understands us sometimes more than we understand ourselves. So he seeds into us like the plan before Ramadan comes. Like he knows how we think, what are the main desires, and so on and so forth. So sort of like we have a corruption of some sort of like thoughts and desires and so on. And I think that's where we have to start to fix what this Satan has destroyed.
Okay.
So, and I would like to ask Brother Kareem, what do you think about this? Is this really something that plays a role, negative role, that shaitan can really change the psyche of somebody, like to the extent that he doesn't know that what I'm doing here, it's like he is psychedelic, he's under drugs or something?
I think that the difference between the shaitan and nafs is that shaitan just wants any bad deed. If you're doing something, he just call you backbite here, lie here, why don't you do some nifaq here? But the nafs is different. The nafs has things which it desires. You will find that each one of us has enough. Somebody's nafs has an inclination towards money.
Okay.
Another person maybe towards the other gender. Another person towards, and it's not just any random thing. It's about, maybe it's their ego. It's about their position. There's one thing which feeds the nafs. The shaitan is anything. Lamam. Lots of small things. You're doing it. He can't get you. You're doing ibadah. Well, look at them. Everyone thinks that you're really, really pious, and then he tries and spoils that. You want to do. You give out charity, and he says, "Oh, look at them. They looked at you in a bad way." And he plays around with your heart. Why don't you tell them? Why didn't you thank me? Anything just to spoil the dish. But your nafs isn't the same. Your nafs wants things.
Right.
It's something that it desires. It's something that has a strong inclination towards. I want to be this. The other things, and this is why we've got different problems. Somebody has, you find that, so you come in here, why don't you do ghadd al-basar? Why aren't you lowering your gaze? It's very easy. For you it's very easy, but for somebody else, it's their main
Everyone's got their challenges.
Challenges.
You're making a very important distinction, Brother Kareem, because I think I understand why Iblis, Shaitan, is blamed for so many things, because we simply don't understand the role of the nafs. We think that Shaitan is responsible for all the bad things that happen, not recognizing that some of it comes from within ourselves. Also, I was wondering about the jinn. You know, you were talking about the different ways that we can be human beings. The nafs can incline us towards that which is good, which pleases Allah, and vice versa. We are told also, the same is true for the jinn, that there are some jinn who listen to the Quran, listen to the Prophet recite the Quran, peace be upon him, with, I don't know if it's right to say a certain level of iman, but then there are others that, what about the role of the jinn in terms of our nafs, temptations, distractions, and all that kind of thing, all that?
The jinn in general, they're exactly like us. They're very similar. It's an ummah. There's al-Muslimin. There is Iman, there's the Muslimin, and there's the non-Muslim jinn, which are the shaitan. Shaitan is a jinn, he's a type of jinn. And before he became al-shaitan, with big L, the Satan, the devil, he was elevated to a level of the angels. Because of the way he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was very pious, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in lots and lots of verses, he talks about how he was with the gathering of the angels. And this is when Adam alayhi salam was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the angels to bow to Adam, and they all obeyed except for Iblis. And this was the first time we see this nafs playing a role.
Okay.
Because his nafs came in. He said, "Ana khayra min."
There's no devil for the devil.
He came in and he said, "No, Ana khayra min. أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين." I'm better than him. I'm not going to bow to him. I was created from fire, and he was created from clay. How can fire, wow, big thing, powerful, bow to something that was created from clay? And he didn't realize at that point that it's got nothing to do with Adam. It's got to do with the order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not bowing to Adam, you're obeying Allah. And this was the first ego thing. This is the first nafs coming in saying, "Ana khayru min."
It's like bowing to the Kaaba, maybe. Like some people, when they say, like, you Muslims, some of the non-Muslims, they misunderstand and say, like, you worship the Kaaba. We're not worshipping it. It's exactly the same concept as when Allah ordered Satan to
It's a symbol of submission. And this is Umar ibn Khattab when he went to the Kaaba, and then there's the Hajar, and he went to kiss it, and he said, "Lawla an amara," except for that the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to kiss it, I would never have kissed you.
SubhanAllah.
Because it's a rock.
just a direction.
Why would I go and kiss a rock? There's no reason mentally except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered me to this. And Hajj and Umrah are complete. This is you taking out the nafs completely from the equation.
And this brings us back to the whole discussion about self-control, restraining oneself, doing the things that we're supposed to do, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to, even if we don't feel like it. Maybe I was raised in such a way that I am made to feel superior to other people because of their nationality or the way they look or whatever. But that may not be right according to the way Allah wants me to live my life.
I want to pick up on that, Brother Ali, and I want us to be a bit more frank and talk about some of these struggles. Like everybody has their struggles. What are the most common struggles people go through. So, for example, one of them would be the fact of, you mentioned that maybe somebody feels he is better than somebody.
Yeah.
He has the issue of racism. He thinks he is born in a certain family and he has a certain lineage. He is better than others. So in Ramadan, he's really focusing and trying to be as normal and as equal to everybody else. What would you say are some of the biggest struggles you find amongst Muslims?
Well, I think for me, what comes to my mind is for the youth, because I think most of our viewers are just young people. So I think that it comes to the relationship between genders.
Okay.
And this is a topic that we don't touch upon most of the time. It's like, it's a taboo, or we shouldn't talk about.
You mean like how they interact?
Yes, and I think that because we have these challenges, we can talk from an ivory tower, but the reality is, we as young people, for instance, we go to college, we strive to get education and so on and so forth. So of course temptations kick in, because we are not old people, we are young people. So I think this is one of the biggest struggles for young men and women. So, and of course one of the main lessons of Ramadan is to control this temptation.
Okay.
It's not only food, also part of it is the intimate relationship between married, couples and married people, and so on and so forth. So it's also not only something in the heart, like the arrogance and so on, but also something like the temptation that comes with it.
Okay, very nice. So the relationship between men and women.
And statistically is a very important population, because across the board in every country, young people make up the majority of any population than older people.
Sure.
So that makes it a very relevant topic. I thought you were going to go deeper with that, with the struggles. There's some cultural trends that have been taking hold over the past. Based on the people that I ask here in Egypt, that we've seen fashion trends start to change to model those of Western countries. Over the past 10 to 15 years.
That's right.
Prior to that, it was a different, the society was a bit different. And so maybe that plays into this, this dynamic between young Muslims, male and female, fashion and pressures. What are some of the other things that go into this, this dynamic?
Well, I think it comes to also bringing up, like, when we were a child, like when a small child, you tell him from the beginning, of course not so small, so young, like there are boundaries and there are things that you don't do until a certain time. And people really listen to this. Like if I'm young, like 10 years old, don't do this, don't touch a girl, don't do these stuff. They are not right.
Okay.
You won't accept this for your sister. If somebody hears this, I think it's gonna like put inside our hearts as young people, you will never approach something that is wrong or something is bad. So I think it starts at home, the beginning of and maybe most of people, they don't know the right and wrong because of this, because the missing part of bringing up.
Okay, excellent. Brother Karim, another very common struggle we find many people, not just the youth, but many people who complain about is the prayers themselves. Waking up for Fajr, let's be honest, is not very easy, it's very difficult. What would you say about the prayers and especially the early prayer?
In Ramadan, it's much easier because they get the first suhoor. And this is the irony, is that we always use the example throughout the whole year of if somebody, say Fajr is at 3, somebody said, if you meet me at 3, I'll give you $1 million, they'd wake up. They'd set alarms and they get their friends to call them up. And subhanAllah, this is the Fajr, Rak'atay al-Fajr, the ones, the Sunnah, which are before the Fajr, خَيْرٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. They're better from this whole dunya. So it's not $1 million, this is multiple billions of dollars that you get in reward. So the problem is, and this is what the root of most of these things, is that we do not really feel that the end is real.
Okay.
And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ نَفْسِهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى.
Okay.
And whoever fears the status or of his Lord, and he controls his whims, then they will enter Jannah.
Okay.
So both of these come together. Our problem is that we've become so materialistic that Al-Fajr, why don't you get up for Fajr? Because I've got school in the morning, I've got work in the morning. If I get up at 3, then I won't be able to go to sleep again, I'll go lazy, I won't be productive. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to be productive, so we just skip Fajr. Because I'm out with my friends until really late, and I can't really get up for Fajr, Allah Ghafurur Rahim, and that's it. these are concepts which are coming in because we've put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a second to ourselves. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ.
Okay.
Have you seen the one who has taken his whims and his temptations, his desires as his Lord? Obviously, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this, doesn't mean that they put their desires there and they do sujood,
Right.
but they follow their orders. And this is what Ali was saying, is this idea is that who controls you? Who is your Lord? And this is a very important question which we need to, in Ramadan, take a step back and think really with ourselves, is my Lord Allah?
Okay.
We use it, everyone, if you ask them, is your Lord Allah? Yes.
In word, okay.
In word, but
yeah.
who is your Lord?
Indeed.
And this is similar to the question of, do you love Allah? The second one. And this is al-ayah al-imtihan, which is it's a famous ayah in Surah An-Nisa. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُم.
Okay.
Say, if you truly love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَاتَّبِعُونِي, follow me, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love you, وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُم, and He will forgive your sins. So this is, again, first question we're going to ask ourselves, who is our Lord? Second question, do we love Allah? Who is our Lord? Are we following the orders? وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. The people who truly believe, they will love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than their money, their family, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, anything which comes in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I balance it out, and this is how you test it. If there's a game on and there's salah, am I going to watch the game or am I going to do salah? This is haram money, but it's going to give me a nice trip. Am I going to go for the trip or am I going to go for the rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Second thing, do I truly love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How am I going to test this? Am I following the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Okay.
And I think this month, if we answer these questions truthfully to ourselves, because you will be asked these questions. And the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the questions in the grave, Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? This is the first question you will be asked.
Okay.
You're going to be asked this question, so might as well answer it now. So it's not a surprise then, because then there's nothing, oh, I messed up.
You have the exam paper in front of you.
You know the questions, they're coming. That you know, it's an open book exam, and you've got until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleases for you to live to answer this question.
Yes.
And if you're on the path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا.
Okay.
And those who truly thrive in our path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you. He is fair, He is just, He is merciful, He is Jawad.
Okay, on that note, let's move over and watch a short report. So, dear viewers, let's watch this report together. While you're watching the report, I would encourage you once again to get close to your phones, get close to your Skype accounts, and join us in this discussion. Tell us what you personally find the most difficult thing in Ramadan. Is it not eating? Is it not drinking? Is it having to control your tongue? What are you struggling with? And give us advice as well. These little things, how can we overcome them? How can we control our desires? Not just desires, but you know, a lot of people, they struggle with doubts as well. They have certain questions and concepts that they challenge in Islam. So do call us and give us your feedback. Let's watch this report and then we'll come back and continue that discussion.
In His name we die, here and there.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise due to Allah alone. We praise Him, thank Him, seek His guidance and His forgiveness. We repent to Him, we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our souls and our sinful deeds. Whoever Allah guides, none can mislead, and whoever Allah misleads, none can guide. Oh Allah, bless Rajab and Sha'ban for us, and let us live till the coming of Ramadan. This is the dua of our beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. May Allah enable us to be from those who will be alive during Ramadan, and from those who will attain Allah's forgiveness and Allah's mercy during this blessed month. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the sound hadith said that the person whom Allah Ta'ala has given him the opportunity to live in Ramadan and to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan and to attain Allah's forgiveness in Ramadan, but he failed to do so, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distance him away from him. And Jibreel alayhi salam replied saying Ameen. So imagine, dear brothers and sisters, the amount of khair, an amount of reward, an amount of ajr that a person may waste by just not being prepared well for Ramadan, by just being not understanding the opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in this beautiful and beloved month to all of us. this month, the month of Ramadan, we should receive it with a sincere repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a sincere return to Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala in the Quran said, وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. O who you believe, repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala collectively. All of you, return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that you may attain success. So let's begin Ramadan with a sincere repentance to Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's receive Ramadan, and as soon as we see the moon of Ramadan, we say the dua that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us. We say to the moon, "O Allah, let this moon come to us with security and faith, and with safety and Islam and guidance to that which you love, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." And then we say, "My Lord and your Lord is Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala." This dua we should say it as soon as we see the moon of Ramadan. Furthermore, this blessed month, the month of Ramadan, in each night of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will free some of His servants from the hellfire. Imagine this great reward. Imagine this beautiful reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will free you from the hellfire, that Allah ta'ala will save you from the hellfire, that when you come on the day of judgment and you are anticipating to be accounted for your actions and your deeds and your wrongdoing, and Allah ta'ala will say on that night of Ramadan, Allah ta'ala has written for you to be free from the hellfire, therefore there is no accounting, therefore there is no punishment for you, therefore you will enter Jannah with the greatest of ease. What a reward, what a huge reward and huge mercy from Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. For this kind of action and this kind of reward, we should work hard. For this kind of reward from Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should do our utmost and do our best to achieve this great reward. And for my dear brothers and sisters who are living in countries in which the day is very long, i.e. in the West countries, the more difficulties you encounter, the more hardship you encounter in fasting Ramadan, the longer hours you fast during Ramadan, the longer you fast, the more reward you will have. So remember this always. And also remember that what Allah Ta'ala wants from us is not to abstain from food and drink only. The purpose of the fasting is for us to attain piety. Allah Ta'ala in the Quran said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O who you believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you as it was prescribed upon those people before you, upon those nations and generations before you, so that you may gain piety, attain piety. And the ulama said, لَعَلَّ, this word here means that it is for confirmation, that a person, if he fasts as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Almighty prescribed, he will attain piety, he will become from those who are pious. So if we fast as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed for us, we will attain piety. What is the fasting that Allah Ta'ala has prescribed for us? The fasting that Allah Ta'ala wants from us is to fast by all of our limbs, to fast by all of our parts and limbs. Allah Ta'ala, or the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the person who does not stop lying and does not stop the falsehood and any action that it is in that field, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need for him to abstain from food and drink, because the purpose of fasting is to abstain from anything which is unlawful and any action that is haram, and also you abstain from that which is lawful, the food and drink. So once you do that, once you abstain from the wrongdoing, the wrong actions and the evil doing, and you abstain by all of your limbs from what Allah Ta'ala has forbidden, so your tongue will fast, and your ears will fast, your eyes will lower the gaze, you won't indulge in backbiting, you won't indulge in in foolish talking and actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden, if you abstain from that all, and at the same time you offer Allah's obligations upon you, you will attain piety as Allah ta'ala has promised. Many people of us, they do the first part, which is they abstain from food and drink, but they neglect the second part, which is to abstain from any action that is haram. Moreover, many of us as well, they may abstain from the wrongdoing and the wrong actions, but they neglect Allah's obligations. They neglect the salah, for example. They don't pray on time. They combine the prayers because they spend the whole day in sleep, while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this month for us a month of reward, a month of mercy, a month in which the actions, the good deeds are multiplied. They spend it in sleeping, and then as well during the night they release their eyes in watching all these foolish films and foolish programs that are designed to deviate them and divert them from the purpose for which Ramadan was legislated, the purpose for which the Siyam was legislated, which is to attain Allah's mercy and attain Allah's forgiveness. So they become engaged and busy with all of these programs that will keep them diverted from Allah's mercy and Allah's forgiveness. Let's be focused. Let's understand that this is a challenge, and we can through it attain Allah's mercy and attain Allah's forgiveness. Just abstain from whatever Allah Ta'ala has forbidden, offer whatever Allah Ta'ala has obliged upon you, and give priority to those two things. If you do that, you will attain piety, and you will attain, inshaAllah, by the will of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, His forgiveness, and you will attain as well the freedom from the hellfire. May Allah Ta'ala grant us this, all of us. Moreover, I would say to those who live in Britain, in the UK, that there are many mosques and many masajid in the UK which will open their doors for you, having many programs, having many activities, having iftar, and having as well qiyam and tarawih, having i'tikaf during the last 10 months of Ramadan, 10 days of Ramadan. All of these activities are available in many mosques in Britain, in the UK, including the mosque that I work at, Al-Muntada Al-Islami Mosque. Likewise, many mosques who are affiliated with this mosque in Birmingham, the Wisdom Mosque and Quba Mosque and Al-Manar Mosque in Cardiff. All of them are opening their doors for you to engage in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attain Allah's forgiveness. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And in His name we die here and there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear viewers. After watching that very short report, talking to you about Ramadan, talking to you about struggling and striving in this blessed month. Now, dear viewers, why do we struggle? Why do we strive? Let's say it's not inside Ramadan, outside of Ramadan. Let's say it's for work or for business. What is the purpose of struggling? It's to attain a particular goal. Now, we as Muslims, we have the big goal, and that is to enter into paradise and to be saved from the punishment of the hellfire. But at the same time, we have other goals that will lead us to that. And one method that will lead us to attain these goals is Ramadan. Ramadan is a month full of opportunities. And inshallah ta'ala, we're going to go around the table. We're going to look at these opportunities and see how we can tackle our weaknesses, how we can provide solutions for them, and how we can take advantage of this blessed month. So if we can, anybody would like to talk about some of the problems or some of the weaknesses that the Muslims we have, and how we can provide solutions for those as well.
Well, going forward, the one thing that I would like to say is that this whole process of achieving a certain level of self-control in our lives is a process, and we have to be patient with ourselves and also understand that it's a process of self-mastery, and self-mastery comes by self-discovery.
Very nice.
So discovering what our strengths are, what our areas of growth and development, not weaknesses. The weaknesses are opportunities for growth. And if we look at it that way, I think it can help give us goals to target, to achieve, to work towards accomplishing in our lives that have to be, as we said earlier this week, have to be managed. So in terms of just laying a foundation, you know, every one of us is made uniquely. And,
Sure.
and so as a result of that, we each have areas of a growth and strength that are a bit different. Some of us, one of the Facebook comments I think you wanted to mention was a sister talking about anger management being
Sure.
an area of growth. That's something that I'm sure most of us can relate to. Some of us have a more of a challenge when it comes to anger management than others.
Okay.
But you know, all of these comments that come up, I'm sure all of us can relate to them.
Excellent. If I could just make mention of that exact comment, and then we can possibly continue with that. We had Sister Zalika who made mention on our Facebook post, where you could all also give your comments as well. And she made mention that one of the things she struggles with in the month of Ramadan is anger. But she also provided a solution for that. And she said the key is patience. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I'm just going to a little bit digress, but it's about an experiment. It was done by one of the psychologists. His name is Walter Mischel. It is called the marshmallow test.
Okay.
So in brief, what he did is that he brought little kids into a room, and of course every kid was put to the room separately. So like they were like 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and they tell them, here you go, kid, if you want to eat this marshmallow, eat it, but if you stay with it until I come back, I'll give you 2.
Okay.
So what happened is that most of them, they ate the marshmallow, and just few numbers of them, they were patient, as we're saying about now the patience here. So what's going to happen? They're going to have their reward, the other marshmallow. But that's not the end of the experiment. The end of the experiment is that they followed these kids until they grew up, until they went to college, until they worked, until they got married. So wow, that's like about 40 years or something. And they found a pattern. This pattern is the kids that resisted and they didn't eat the marshmallow, they were more successful with their marriages, with their jobs, and with their work.
Okay.
So see how much it can benefit you to have this self-control in every area of your life. So it's not only about, of course, it's not something small to get the reward in the hereafter, but I mean that everything that you do, it's for your own benefit even in this world. You're going to see the feedback, and you're going to see like the consequences are going to be so positive.
Okay, very nice. One of the questions I have when we're talking about struggles is the fact, a very basic question, but I think everyone thinks about this, is your food. Brother Ali, Brother Karim, what do you think with regards to, outside the month of Ramadan, we tend to eat anything and everything. So it's a bit of a struggle having to eat good and healthy and stay clean. What would you say about that?
Can I just add on a bit to the point about the anger? The Prophet ﷺ gives us a very nice solution to this. When he talks about Siyam Junnah, fasting is a shield. So if somebody quarrels with you or somebody swears at you, then you should say, Inni sa'im, inni sa'im. I'm fasting, I'm fasting. Obviously, you don't say this out loud. You don't need to say this out loud in their face. They're insulting you, saying, I'm fasting, I'm fasting. It's not really, but it's more of what we're talking about is making it real. And one of the things that keeps us grounded is taking al-ghaybiyat, things the unseen, and transforming them into things which we're conscious about. So when I remind myself, and the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the hadith, say it twice, inni sa'im, I'm making this real. And I'm reminding myself that I'm going for a bigger reward. This is the month of me controlling myself. This is part of the control. This is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person is testing my sabr. And so my fasting should be a shield to protect me from this. So now is a chance. The Sister Zubaydah, when she was talking,
Zalika.
Sister Zalika, when she was talking about this, that she's identified her problem. And this is the first step to the solution. Now what she needs to do is that she needs to identify the triggers. So her problem is anger management. She needs to look at the triggers. The triggers are when somebody insults me. Then as soon as this happens, I need to put myself into the conscious mood of this. No, I get angry when somebody puts me down. Then I need to see where my ego is going with this, and this will be the trigger. I get angry 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to analyze this and see what are the triggers, maybe try and avoid them, or try and know what they're cutting. This is going to come now. Somebody's going to cut me off. I need to control myself. I need to know that there really is no benefit in me running and trying to cut him off as well. I need to control this. I need to control my ego. And from that, I think we get past this point. Coming back to the food. Coming back to the food.
By the way, just a comment. That was a very, that's the kind of hard work that we have to do. To be very purposeful, deliberate, and analyze ourselves And thank you for laying that out for us. Just a simple example of what it needs to sound like within ourselves to analyze and to make plans to improve ourselves.
Excellent. Okay. All right, we can talk about food now.
Food, no. Obviously, food, it's a mubah, something which is permissible. You can eat any type of food within the realms of what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not forbidden. What we need to just do is we need to remember that this is not the month of food. This is the month of taking away food.
Okay.
So the idea isn't to make up all the food that we didn't eat throughout the whole day and double it within the 3-4 hours that we're going to be eating, just compensate for what's going on. That's not the purpose of it. You can eat, but you just need to eat in moderation. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Eat and drink and do not be excessive.
Okay.
And the irony is that we are much more excessive in Ramadan. Some of it is maybe is good, where you have maybe you're inviting people over, so you want to be generous to them, and you want to, this is nice. But we need to put things a bit into perspective.
Also something very interesting. Many Muslims actually complain that by the end of Ramadan they've actually put on weight.
Yeah. Yes. And this is funny because in the companions after the Prophet ﷺ, when there was the expansions of the Muslim empire and things became bigger, one of the I think it was Abdullah ibn Umar, a man came to him from one of the outskirts of, and he gave him something to help him when he's full, something to help him in digestion.
Okay.
And he told him this: when you're full and you feel a bit tired, you take some of these herbs and you'll be fine. So the man, so Abdullah ibn Umar, he asked him, "Have you ever been full in your life?" So the man told him, "Yes, of course I've been full." Abdullah ibn Umar didn't understand this.
Wow.
It was such an abstract concept to him that it's not something that he. What do you mean when I'm full and I'm lazy? That doesn't make. He didn't understand the concept.
Wow.
And this was after they were wealthy. There was lots of food, but they knew that this isn't their purpose. Their purpose isn't for them to eat. They were created in this earth, and this is the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. The food is enough for a person. Is that what keeps him straight?
Okay.
So food is, sometimes it can be something which we use as to fill a certain desire or something that we enjoy, but we need to realize that the main purpose of food is to keep us going. It's an enjoyment. It's like any other enjoyment. I like driving my car. Would I drive my car 15 hours a day?
No.
No, it's something, I like cars, this is mubah, it's something good, drive it. But nobody does that in excess except for food. We indulge ourselves and it's sold to us as if this is our purpose.
Okay.
And it's not. It's something which is nice, you can enjoy, maybe a sweet or enjoy something. And we need to be conscious as well of the healthy food. And this is something which now the big corporations, they're fighting this, fighting back. But people are realizing things like sugar intake and...
Brother Krim, we know Allah tells us to eat the halal and stay away from the haram, but also, Allah also makes mention when it comes to food is at-tayyibat, good stuff. So I mean that requires elaboration and understanding. What does Allah mean when we say the good things?
Exactly. The good things are the things which are halal and the good things which are healthy. We need to realize that we have borrowed this body from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I heard a public announcement that was made on radio here in Egypt earlier today. And I was so proud of the Egyptian government for making this public announcement that they're encouraging families to breastfeed their children, their infants, and not to use powdered milk to feed their infants. I was so happy. We're talking about what kinds of foods, the ones that we should start out in life with are the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for our mothers with.
Okay.
And I was just so elated to hear that. Did you all hear that, by the way? That it was on radio.
First time, yeah. So coming back to natural food and so on.
Yeah. I mean, the natural stuff is the stuff that Allah designed for us to eat, not factories.
And it's a product of your food that if you're eating a lot of junk food or unhealthy food, that you will become lazy, you will sleep more. And what's interesting, the Prophet ﷺ, he made a dua. He used to say, "Oh Allah, save us from being lazy and from being cowards." Yes. How the two are connected?
Oh, they are related. So
yeah, in the same dua, he said, "Oh Allah, save us from being lazy and from being cowards."
SubhanAllah. Because we lose the willpower maybe when we feel like, okay, I don't have to move right now. SubhanAllah.
Okay. So any other particular struggles that people go through in Ramadan? And also I'd like for you guys to talk about some of the opportunities inside Ramadan. Like what particular days or hours or times that we can really invest in the barakah and use these to bring about change in our lives.
Well, the night prayer is one of the points, and I think it's because most of the time, of course, in Ramadan it's easy to an extent, but to get used to this, because most of the time you are not awake at that time. So one of the basic desires is sleep.
Okay.
So it's also fighting against something basic. And if we get used to this in Ramadan, and I would like to ask Brother Kareem, in general, how can we use the benefit of Qiyam al-Layl in Ramadan for the purpose of controlling ourselves and so on?
I think in general Ramadan is structured in a way that it's a training course for you to practice and to keep your nafs in check. Whether it's fasting in the morning or taraweeh later on at night, or fajr, or then the suhoor, so many things which are maybe out of the normal daily routines, and this puts things into perspective. And we see this is how the Prophet ﷺ, even in his life, he used to keep his nafs ﷺ, and this is the most beautiful nafs, in check. The Prophet ﷺ, as narrated in the hadith of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, that he would fast until they thought he would not break his fast. He would 10, 15 days, and then he would keep on breaking his fast until they thought he was not going to fast again. And he would do qiyam in the beginning of the night, and he'd do qiyam in the middle of the night, and he'd do qiyam at the end of the night. And the idea behind this is that whenever his nafs gets used to something, he changes.
It's not going to be hard like the beginning, so that's why he wanted to be hard.
And he controls it. Okay, you're relaxed now in the early night. Okay, we'll just put it in the middle. Okay, now you're used to the middle. We'll just move it to the end, and then we'll bring it back, and then we'll do siyam until you're fine. Because maybe after third, fourth, fifth day of siyam, it becomes very normal. And even on the first day of Eid, it's harder to eat in the morning. Your stomach's not used to it. So the Prophet ﷺ used to break this. He's in control, and this is something that we need to shape ourselves around, that we need to be the ones who are dominating our nafs. It's not our nafs that calls us, look at this, look at that. And the problem with this, and scholars, when they talked about this, lots of people, especially youth now, and we're talking about the youth, they talk about jihad and doing this, and no one is going to do any form of jihad without doing jihad nafs.
Okay.
And they talked about this, Sa'di talked about this, Ibn Qayyim talked about this. He said that if you do not do jihad of your nafs, there's no way you're going to do jihad of anything else. And this is the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks in the hadith, he says, Al-mujahid man jahada nafsu ala ta'atillah. The true mujahid is the one who does jihad against himself to stay on the true path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, excellent. We are short on time, so I want to kind of like go through some bullet points and get your thoughts on those as well. I want to talk about charity, because we know the Prophet ﷺ, he said that when you give in charity, it's like you're putting water over the fire. That's how much your sins are extinguished. So what would you say, how important is it for us to give charity, and how should we give charity in the month of Ramadan?
Well, as I think I mentioned this in one of the last episodes, like I said, that choose your relatives, because they are the ones that they don't go to people to beg from them, so, and they are the most people in need. So go to them, pick up the phone, and try to help them. They are going to really benefit from this, because the society itself is not going to know that they need the money.
Okay, excellent. So charity. Brother Ali, another very important part is the society, the congregational prayers. How can we use that to really change ourselves, struggle with it?
You mean in the month of Ramadan in particular, or in general?
In general, and also in Ramadan, when, for example, the Tarawih prayers at night, everybody comes out to pray. How can we use that to our advantage?
Well, I think I'm not sure what to say exactly. I mean, there's the general benefit that we each individually get and as a community take from participating in congregational prayers. There's a certain discipline that's built into Islam, and one of the greatest areas of that discipline is reflected in the congregational prayers.
Okay.
That when we hear the adhan, we start making steps all at the same time. This is one of the beautiful things about it. I really enjoy the idea that everyone from north to south across the globe in my time zone is doing the same thing.
That's amazing. Plus
or minus, 20, 30 minutes, right? And especially so in Ramadan, and there's a certain awareness that we all have, a heightened awareness about the specific time, the one time of the day of the year that we're all aware, the time of Maghrib, whether we're regular prayers or not, is the time of Maghrib prayer in Ramadan, and it's very important for us. And so, we can laugh about it, but that adds to the uniformity, the universality of it, that we know that everyone's rushing for the finish line of the day at the same time. Right. So in terms of benefits, I don't know if how I've done with the intent of your question.
No, it's very nice. The very fact that we come together and we take advantage of each other's company, the discipline, I think, was the most valuable thing there. Thank you very much. Brother Karim, you've got 10 seconds literally. I'm being shouted at in my earpiece. I want you to just give us the importance of being prepared for Laylatul Qadr, just in 10 minutes, in 10 seconds.
Laylatul Qadr is one of the main goals of Ramadan. There is a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it at the end, is so that we have 20 days to prepare for it. So now we're talking about 15 more days, inshallah. We need to prepare ourselves, do lots of dua, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us alive on that day and gives us barakah, and makes us able to stand and pray on that day. And now is the time to warm up. So each day, if you're doing 1 rak'ah, do 3, then 5, all the way up, increase your good deeds at night. And then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us reach this night, and He accepts our deeds from it.
All right, thank you very much. I know Laylatul Qadr requires a whole program, but you did well for the 20 seconds. And inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Islam in America. So there's something, Ali, you're going to enjoy that one tomorrow, hopefully.
Inshallah.
So thank you very much, all of you, for coming, and inshallah ta'ala, we will see you tomorrow as well. Dear viewers, we've come to the end of our program here, Here and There. What a beautiful program, what a beautiful discussion. We must admit that we do have weaknesses and that we do need to work on those so we can better ourselves. One small piece of advice I would give from myself to all of you is the fact that we know the Prophet ﷺ taught us that the most private time the person who is fasting has is that time just before he opens his fast. Those couple of minutes that you have, that's the time for making dua. That's the time when your duas are answered. Let's try from today onwards, at that particular time, to find a nice, quiet, silent place. Take your date, take your water, sit somewhere quietly and think about life. Think about the fact that, are you on the right path? Are you heading towards paradise? Or are you on the wrong path, doing the wrong things, behaving in the wrong way, getting involved in the wrong things? Take advantage of those 5 or 10 minutes, make dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that guidance. So we thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow. So until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.
In the name of Allah we are born, in His name we live, and in His name we die. Here and there, our souls prostrate to their Creator with humbleness and piety, and creatures do dhikr all the time, here and there. Humans circumambulate the Kaaba while migrating birds stretch forth their wings, finding their way by Allah's mercy here and there. Our Prophet advised us to travel, seeking knowledge, while exploring Allah's miraculous creations here and there.